Okay, Bonnie, you okay?
Whenever you're ready, I'm ready, sir.
Okay, we're on the record.
We are on the record.
Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, March 26th. It's about 8 o'clock. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Tuesday, March 26th. Today we have a public hearing and a general meeting, and that's about it. Kevin, would you like to?
Sure. Three items on the public hearing. First agenda item, proposed amendments to Darien Zoning Regulations, COZR 3-2019, put forth by Pemberton 16 LLC. Proposal to add a new section 597 to the Darien Zoning Regulations to allow for the creation of housing for persons 55 years of age or older within the Leroy-West Affordable Housing Overlay (LW) zone, where one member of at least 8% of the occupied units to be 55 years of age or older. The full text of the proposed zoning regulation amendment is on file, available at the Town Clerk's office and at the Planning and Zoning office for inspection, and online at darienct.gov/PZC.
You all have in your packets the submitted materials from Robert Maslin on behalf of the applicant. Town Council is in the process of reviewing those materials, and there's a lot of legal questions in here he's looking into. So we reached out to Mr. Maslin, said we prefer to have those answered before we have the hearing. So Mr. Maslin has agreed to have the hearing continued. Suggested date Tuesday, April 23rd at 8 p.m. in room 206 of Town Hall. There are some members of the public here. I've suggested to them to send in their written materials to us, which would allow Town Council to hear from the neighbors as well as Town Council tries to interpret what Mr. Maslin's putting forth.
So not opening up to the public because
Right.
Mr. Maslin is not here to present his case.
Right. He has notified the neighbors, so we'll continue it. Continue it to Tuesday, April 23rd, 8 p.m. in room 206.
So we're not going to start the hearing because the applicant's
Correct.
Well, we'll just immediately continue.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so if you hear from the public relative to Pemberton 16 LLC at 77 Leroy, we're not going to be talking about that tonight, so see you the next time.
No indeed.
Thank you, sir.
Item number 2, coastal site plan review number 339, flood damage prevention application number 392, land filling and regrading application number 452, John Erickson, 17 Baywater Drive, proposal to raise the existing dwelling and to construct a new residence and below the same location that installs a new stormwater management system and perform related site development activities within regulated areas. The 0.4 acre subject property is located on the south side of Baywater Drive at the southeastern corner formed by its intersection with Mayflower Road, and is shown on Assessor's map number 55 as lot number 99 in the R-NBD Zone.
You have the application materials prepared by Chad Herring. Chad's done a number of replacement houses in the Roten Bay over the past handful of years. The subject property is 3 doors down from the Roten Yacht Club. This will be a replacement house of what's there. It's typical issues you've seen in the Roten Bay, where the new house will have to be elevated to be at least 1 foot above the base flood elevation of 14. The AC units and generator will also need to be elevated on a platform and screened, which is the requirement down there to minimize noise and visual impacts. As you know, for a property right on the water, typically we only address water quality. We don't hold back water. So the plans show Caltech units in the backyard to address that first flush of water. Artel Engineering has done the engineering on this. It's an application for coastal site plan review, flood damage prevention. You see Kevin Archer, the engineer, has submitted certification of flood elevation. Flood vents are shown in the architectural plans. Typically, in a case like this, the commission will require a flood elevation certificate once the project's done to ascertain that everything is at the proper height and the flood vents have been properly installed.
That's our newest latest requirement, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So Chad Naring is here to answer any questions and tell you a little bit more about the project.
Good evening. My name is Chad Nearing. I'm the architect for John and Allegra Erickson at 17 Baywater Drive, and with me is Michelle from Artel Engineering.
Could you spell your last name for me, please, Chad?
Sure, Nearing, N-E-H-R-I-N-G.
Thank you very much.
I think we all know what Baywater Drive and Norotan Bay is. It's a very nice neighborhood full of closely dense houses that abut the Long Island Sound, and 17 Baywater Drive is just to the north of the Long Island Sound. There's an existing structure on the house, on the property, which is a single-family residence with a first floor elevation of 11.5 and 13.3. There's some steps in the existing first floor, and there's also a walk into basement from the exterior. One of the rare things nowadays is we're actually making this project smaller than what exists today. So we're reducing impervious coverage substantially. We're existing at about 17.2%, and we're going to be reducing it to, I believe, right around 14.5%. The new residents will meet or exceed all the FEMA regulations and have a first floor elevation of 16.0. The garage will have an elevation of 10.3. We'll have 3 sets of egress stairs on the exterior of the building, one at the front door, one at the back deck going out to the backyard, and one on the side, which is also common with the mechanical pad on the eastern side. We'll be sculpting the grades to comply with some of the new building regulations from the 2015 IRC. We'll be meeting all the zoning and building regulations. Another odd factor of this is we did not have to go for a single variance for this project. So that's a first, I believe, on all the projects I've done in Norotan Bay. The structural design will be using a footing system with foundation walls that will all be designed to resist the flood damage and impacts. We'll have crawl space under the main living area of the house. The slab on that will be pitched to the smart vent foundation vents. The idea is the water can come in a flood situation, the house absorbs it. After the water recedes, it'll then flow back out. First floor will be set at 16. All of our mechanicals be above the base flood elevation at a minimum height of 15. The floor joists will be anchored to the foundation walls to prevent flotation, collapse, or lateral movement. A certificate of flood elevation has been prepared and submitted by the Archer Engineering Company. All mechanicals will be set above 15, and the propane tank will be buried and anchored to a concrete slab, so to prevent flotation.
So you're going to sink the concrete slab and then...
Correct. Yeah, we actually excavate down, pour a slab.
Yeah, there's 2 ways to do it, and that's what a lot of people do, is you basically...
Because I mean, it makes sense, because if it wasn't anchored to a slab,
it'll fly right out. Yeah, so this is it's anchored to a concrete slab. The tank is then large enough. The other technique is to have several smaller tanks that are all anchored into the earth, so this is preferred.
Can I hold you for a second?
Sure.
Can you just show me on the elevation plan where the mechanicals are? I'm looking at pages on K6 and K7, I think, or SK6 and SK7. I know you said they're going to be above the flood elevation, I just didn't see the condensers and whatnot.
Yeah, the actual condensers aren't drawn on it.
They are or not drawn?
They're not drawn, like physically not drawn, but the pad is drawn. So if we look at...
But the pad's got to be up in the air, right?
Yeah, SK6. SK7.
So we've got a 5-foot platform, the grade around there is 10. They have to be at 15, so it'll be this, Chad, in fact, that's the question I had to Chad before the meeting, 5-foot high platform with a little screen around it, and then Chad mentioned they're also going to plant some trees.
Yeah, we'll do some evergreens that way. Yeah, so
next to the garage, right?
So on the eastern side of the house, there's the sidewalk outdoor.
6.
So there's 6 here. So this sidewalk outdoor, we have a pad right there, which on plan
I go to the site plan, it should be the 24.
So we are right here, so here's the door out, the stair, here's the pad at 15 and a half.
Okay.
Yep. And then on the
So
site plan-
this cuts in.
Correct, yeah, so that is this void here. So we've got an area that's about, I think that's 10 and a half feet by close to 9 feet the other
It's
direction.
the same thing here.
Yep, exactly. Yep, that's actually on the second floor, so that's,
Pretty big pad, right?
It's interesting. So there's when you do all those condensers and the generator, they all need certain clearances. So it's one of those things you just can't push it right up against the wall. There has to be some air movement around to allow those to operate properly.
So it's in the front yard.
It's in the side yard. So in our site plan,
Okay, it's inside yard. Yep.
so it's our eastern side. So this is, here's the water side in the blue.
Yep.
Our house is situated with the garage in the front entry. This is the Frank residence to the east, and our mechanical pad is here tucked between the garage and the stair down to the side yard.
Okay. Does your other professional one speak?
Would you like to, or just field questions?
We designed the,
Could you introduce yourself?
sorry, Michelle McCauley from Martel Engineering,
Could you spell your last name?
MICOLI.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We designed the stormwater to capture and treat the water quality. Because we are reducing the impervious areas, we are reducing the flows to Baywater Drive and to the Long Island Sound. There'll be 3 Coltech units in the rear to treat the roof runoff, and there'll be 2 in the front that'll treat the runoff from the garage, the water quality volume from the garage. It's pretty straightforward.
You don't need the landscape and transportation, Jeremy?
No.
We're good, right? You all set?
All set.
We'll start this out. Mr. Ray, you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Kevin? Would anybody in the audience like to speak to this application? Seeing none. Jeremy, anything you missed?
No.
I would entertain a motion to close this hearing. You have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 3, public hearing, land filling and regrading application number 451. Michael Gedney, 145 Old Kings Highway North. Proposal to construct 20 by 40 swimming pool and regrade the rear yard to create a lower yard, perform related site-development activities. The .52 acre subject property is located on the south side of Old Kings Highway North, approximately 200 feet west of the intersection of Bayberry Lane, is shown on Assessor map 34 as lot number 22 in the R1 half zone. Hearing to be opened and immediately continued to April 23rd, 2019, 8 p.m., room 206, correct?
That's correct. You have Fred's staff memo in your packet noting we're waiting for a little more information from the applicant, and we told them the commission would immediately continue it to April 23rd to give them more time to revise the plans and get us that information.
Great. Moving on, item number 4, and the first item of our general meeting is amendment of business site plan number 291, landfilling and regrading application number 378, Old Town Hall Homes, 719 Boston Post Road. Request for amendments to previously approved plans.
Todd McClutchy and Michael Weisbrod, Crosskey Architects, are here to walk you through a little bit some of the proposed changes to the approved plans for this project. As you've all seen, the demolition has started, it's complete, and the next step for them is to get the foundation-only permit for the foundation of the new building. But as they're fine-tuning the construction plans, they realized there were a number of minor modifications, and so I asked them to come by and run through them very quickly with the commission in terms of what have been changed and the reasons for the changes.
Sir, please introduce yourself and welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Michael Weisbrod with Krosky Architects in Hartford, last name Weissbrod. So as Jeremy explained, there are, excuse me, several of things that we're bringing into focus now that the drawing sets are more or less permit ready. There are 5 things that we'd like to discuss with you tonight, all outlined in the letter that I sent over. The first of which is the parking layout, which I think is probably the most significant of the changes, although it is fairly minor.
You need to stay by the microphones,
Oh, I'm
please.
sorry.
Sorry.
I'll move this back.
That's a great idea.
Well, hopefully you can all see it. Not sure how I'm going to do this here. The existing small building there is actually an EMT dispatch center, and there are going to be several spaces in back of the building that are used solely for that purpose. The previous plan that was approved did include a handicap space directly in the back of that building. So we're proposing, now that we have the understanding that that's going to be used solely for the EMT dispatch, is to move that handicap space closer to the main entry of the building, adjacent to the other handicap space, given the nature of the proposed main building as elderly housing. We feel that they would get more use there. In doing that, we were able to combine the crosshatch spaces of both the handicap parking spaces, gaining a little bit of extra space. And in doing so, that freed up a little bit of space by the existing building too, so we were actually able to squeeze in 2 extra parking spaces with this change. There are a couple of other second and third order effects that did occur with this, mostly on the engineering side. There are some small catch basin changes, as well as the stormwater detention system gets configured ever so slightly underground, but it's in the same location. And the other, I'll call it small change, is the walkway in the back of the small building. It was going straight out to the parking lot before, but we're actually curving it perpendicular with the back of the, parallel with the back of the building to allow for the potential for a future garage for the EMTs to use in the future. So that's the first change that is proposed.
Okay, hold you 1 second.
Sure.
Right now, behind the EMT building are 2 chase cars inside pup tents. I mean, you're not depicted on the plan here, and they're not yours. How does that layout change in here? You know?
I'm not sure of the size of the tents. Whether they go with tents or a permanent structure in the future, we're not entirely sure, but we are providing them with the flexibility to go with a more temporary structure like the tent or a permanent garage if they do so choose in the future.
So I'm looking at the plan that we have, which is a little bit different than yours. And maybe Todd can answer this. Can those 2 cars sit here now? It looks like I would assume they were bigger now than what you're giving them.
Is this the little building we're
There, that's
hanging out
the
in?
EMT building. So 2 cars parked right here today
Okay.
in pup tents. And granted, I think if you're building a beautiful project, those pup tents are pretty ugly.
Yes.
So I don't know if you're going to offer the town to say, we'll build you new ones to get rid of those ugly things.
Well, that has not been offered, but
Could you introduce yourself,
yes,
please?
my name is Todd McClutchy. I'm the developer for this development.
Could you spell your last name?
It's MCCLUTCHY.
Thank you.
So the town has a right to use 6 spaces that are closest to the existing historic building. And so what we're looking to do as part of this whole relocation is move that handicap space, which will not be utilized by the dispatch, and create some more space, whether it's the pop-up tent or something more permanent in that location. So we're allocating new space where the EMT dispatch can be located, and making sure that it can accommodate whatever structure may go there in the future.
Is that what you get it to? Maybe mine, I think mine might be different than yours, because mine doesn't have the cloud around it.
One of the plans shows the cloud around it. It's the layout plan, I believe, which
I'm not laying plan 2.0.
There were 2 sets of plans submitted. One was the original approved plan, and one is the proposed.
I got it.
So you're probably looking at the original plan.
certainly,
Because I mean, I think adding an extra parking space is a great idea, 2 extra parking, and I think moving the handicap is a great idea.
Yes, you need to get to the bubbled one in order to.
I got it. It just doesn't, to me, it doesn't seem you have enough space for the chase vans. So are those chase vans supposed to sit in those two spots inside the bubble or not?
So the town has 6 spaces. How they use those 6 spaces is up to the town.
Oh, so the town can take these 6 right there?
Yes,
Oh,
it is
okay,
the
okay,
6
okay.
closest to the house
I got
that
it, I got it.
are
I'm sorry.
dedicated.
I thought there were 2 additional spaces that are going
Nope,
inside your curb lane.
because the 2 additional are all accommodated on the interior parking component.
Understood. Okay. With the new handicap marker guy. Got it. Okay. Please continue. I'm just waiting.
Thanks. So that was one of 5 changes that we are proposing. The second change is along the entry drive on the back of the site. The original design called for a modular block retaining wall to deal with the grade change along the drive and the grade on the other side. That retaining wall would have been vehicular rated. As we started to look into the details a bit more, we feel that actually pushing the retaining wall back a bit and not using the retaining wall as the vehicular guardrail, but adding a Merit-style Parkway timber guardrail would be more aesthetically pleasing and a bit more durable. So we are proposing to make the change along the drive there as well. The other change we're proposing...
It's going to have a wood on top of the stone wall?
The stone wall will be a separate element from the timber guardrail.
Okay.
So there's
Those are those squares.
So there's a detail shown, I believe, on sheet L 5.2. Which will kind of give you an idea of the cross-section that we're proposing. So again, the block wall is a separate element pulled back from the retaining wall itself. L 5.2. L 5.1 has the original detail. That's why that was included.
Okay.
Okay, so that's 2. You're 3 to go.
All right. The other 3, the last site change is with respect to the dumpster enclosure. All we're proposing to do here is rotate it ever so slightly so it's a little bit easier for the dumpster truck to come and pick it up and move it without having to come in at a weird angle. It's in the same location, it's just rotating it ever so slightly. If there are no questions on that, I'll go into the 4th change, which is building related.
The dumpster's back in the corner on the upper left.
Correct. And again, we're not proposing to move the location, just to rotate the enclosure ever so slightly. The fourth change is architectural related. I'm going to go to the exterior elevations for a moment. The original building was designed with 5 false chimneys at the roof line, both to provide some aesthetic elements as well as to provide a means to enclose the mechanical penetrations in the roof. As we're going through some final coordination with the mechanical, we realized that the chimneys aren't big enough to house all of the mechanical penetrations. So in the outline that you have in front of you, there are really 4 elements that we have in terms of mechanical exhaust. 1, we have clothes dryers. 2 is kitchen exhaust. 3 is bathroom exhaust. And 4 are the furnace exhaust and intakes. We felt it would be best to conceal the furnace intakes and exhaust, given that those are the most unsightly in the chimneys. And the rest of the exhaust we plan to distribute on the back side of the roof away from the main street, as well as doing some sidewall penetrations on the far back side of the building with the dryer exhausts. So I'll kind of walk you through those on a separate plan.
got a lot of discussion about those chimneys. For some reason we did.
Which plan is that?
This is M1.4. It's the mechanical roof plan.
Does ARB fill out the stuff, Jeremy?
Well, Mike is not changing the chimneys, these are the same chimneys.
Correct.
They've been approved, and in fact, chimneys, I think, are the same size or.
Exactly the same size as was
So there's
approved.
no change. What they're doing is adding on some other vents throughout the building to get the necessary venting that didn't fit through the chimneys. So there could be a few sticking out the side, in the back, out the roof, in the back. But
But we're going from-
the chimneys are the exact same.
We're going from 4 to 5? I mean, 5 to 4?
No, the quantity will stay the same as
Oh,
approved.
you said it was 5 going to 4.
Not sure I said that. There are 5 chimneys approved and 5 chimneys proposed.
Because the chimneys won't handle all the.
Okay? I just looked at this and see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
It's the square with the square inside of it, correct?
There's a cupola on the front of the building, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chimneys on the roof plan.
And then what are the extra ventings? That's the,
So all these little symbols are the other vents. So the ones that are tagged REFA, those are the kitchen riser exhausts, so those will stick out of the chimney a bit. Those deal with the kitchen exhaust for the stack of 3 units below that riser. There are some units in the front of the building that we will be elbowing the exhaust within the attic so they don't penetrate the front of the roof facing Boston Post Road. So there are several locations where we're offsetting in the attic just to provide a clean roof in the front. We're taking that same approach with the dryer exhausts as well. In most cases, the dryer exhaust come up in a straight line with the riser below and penetrate the roof there. Again, on the front of the building, we are proposing to elbow them in the attic so they do not provide any penetrations in the front of the building. The bathroom exhausts all tie into an ERV mechanical unit in the attic, which is an energy recovery ventilator. That has a louver facing the side of the building, which is disguised as one of the gable elements, which I'll talk about in a minute. And as I mentioned before, the mechanical exhaust and intakes for the furnaces are all concealed within the chimneys, and there's just barely enough room to fit those elements in there.
Is there much changing on the facade that faces Academy Street?
0.
Thank you. That's
And there
top nose.
that was our
I
goal.
mean, it's important because you drive down and get
Yes.
what that street is, and it dead ends at Academy, and everyone makes the right, and that's what they're saying, that's what they want.
So there are a handful of dryer exhausts where we're not proposing to go all the way up to the roof, just given their location. Towards the back of the building, there are a couple that we just want to go straight out via the side of the building with a small 4x4 dryer vent that you would see on a house. Nowhere close to the street. There'll be another one kind of tucked back here, facing the back. You wouldn't see it from the road.
Does every unit have a washer dryer?
Yes.
They have a hookup or they have a washer dryer?
Hook up.
Okay, so it's possible that not every single one of them will have.
Correct.
Okay.
But they will have vents, it's
Yeah, no, I get
standard
it.
practice
I
on
get
every
it.
Avalon
Correct.
project and every Seth Bernstein project. That's the call.
And I'll show you just where those occur on the outside of the building. Elevations, if you're curious. So I did my best to highlight these in red on the next sheet, A202, which is the exterior elevations. As you can see, there are only a handful. One on this little return, as I showed in the last plan, facing the back of the site.
oh, yeah.
And there are 2 groups on the very far back of the building, again facing the rear. So you would not see this from the road.
Okay. From the 2 rooms, which is Academy.
Correct.
and Post Road.
Right. So the last change that we're that we'd like to run by you, and this is really just running the concept by you at this point, because we're not sure if the project can afford it as of yet. We'll know more once we get further into construction. The main entry of the building does have some a cantilevered second floor to protect from the elements for a portion of the path from the front door to the drop-off area along the entry drive. But there is a good portion of that walkway that is uncovered from the elements. So if the budget allows, we were contemplating kind of creating a covered promenade from the rest of that cantilevered element to the drop-off area, using the style of the building as inspiration, so to make it kind of blend with the architecture that's already there. So we did include some renderings and some elevations of what that might look like, but it's essentially using the same vocabulary as we have on the front portico of the building.
And where's the drop-off area again? The drop-off area is on the side that's near the EMT side.
Let's get back to the site plan with you for a moment. The drop-off area is
There's the double doors.
just beyond Boston Post Road. There's a little spot to pull in to drop off passengers.
And so if you overlaid it on this plan, where's it going to stick out?
It's basically, so here's your main entry overhang
Yep.
right here.
Yep.
The covered walkway would come out, follow the walkway, and terminate at the end of the building.
Okay.
So it's covering sidewalk that's already proposed.
So perhaps an area to put a bench in front there if people wanted to just step out
Yep.
there.
And we do have some built-in seating under the covered entry as of now, but we could expand on that.
Jeremy, do we care about lot coverage off of that? If you cantilever it, it increases lot coverage by a couple of percentage points.
Yeah, I think they still have plenty of room in terms of lot coverage.
Okay.
But
But I
I'll
think
double
it's
check
I think
that.
it's a great idea.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's a great idea. Covered area for somebody to sit.
Okay.
Who else has to look at this? Is there, do you have to look at this?
I would say it's such a minor change that the commission can just handle it.
Oh, this is great.
Hope you get your budget.
Thank you. So do we.
You don't want fabric.
Or glass, like they have a big one. Let's start on this side. So Ken, do you have a question?
Nope.
Yes. Ken?
Nope.
Ken? Would anybody in the public like to speak to this application? Seeing none? Jeremy, what am I missing?
You would just need a motion to approve the amendments as proposed.
So we're going to approve the amendments I propose, and if they do the entryway, they do the, they don't finish. Okay?
Yeah.
I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve changes as proposed.
Second? It's a second. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with your budget. Thank you for doing a nice job, Todd.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Item number 5 on our agenda, deliberation only regarding the following items. The public hearing is closed. Site plan review, recreate, identification application number 2, plan filling and grading application number 452, John Erickson, 17 Baywater Drive. Very straightforward.
I have one quick question that I don't think is for the engineers and architects who are here. Just, they did say no variance, so one thing that sometimes strikes me is even though it's not as wide, maybe as a structure, it can go up so high. How does the height of this compare? It's
They have a
all within-
30-foot max. There have been a couple
I
properties.
read though that it was going up to like 40 feet.
Right, well,
It's
the peak
well, the
can be
size
above 30,
is-
but you take the average of the highest peak and the highest
Right.
eve. So there were, because in Norotan Bay, you have to elevate.
Right, right, right.
There were
So
a
it's
couple
up-
people in Norotan Bay that did ask for variances, and the ZBA generally was not receptive,
Oh, so we changed the rules.
did not change any rules.
I was at ZBA meeting. So, but to answer your question, this size, I checked that, I meant to say for an application period, the size of the house, the height of the house is 29.5 feet and it's 29.6 inches. The regulation is 30 feet,
Right.
so they're half an inch. I mean, the trick is, that's 29, it's 29.5 feet to here.
Right.
If you went like that, it's 29 feet to
Right.
We don't measure to the peak. No, we don't, but we never changed it. So it does comply.
Yeah, I just wondered, and it's sort of not even specific to this, but
What's
when
interesting-
things look so dominating compared to all the neighbors, all of a sudden, it looks great on paper, and then I drive by and I'm like, oh my God.
What's interesting is-
There's a house in the corner.
As we talked about at the hearing, is Roten Yacht Club just did their addition.
Right.
The one next to the Roten Yacht Club at number 21 Baywater, just finished Miss Osie's house. Then you have Sherry Frank's house, then this property. And then Mr. Cornacchia is also working on Baywater. And then they just did the one at the corner of Baywater. So what we're finding is the whole street will be right up in terms of, except for
Okay,
the two
so it's
houses.
not gonna look.
But Genevieve's
like
house is
giant.
short.
Genevieve's house is short, Sherry Frank's is short. For the time being, of course.
What did, what did Wood do? The architect Wood, did the house next door to him?
For Mr. Cornacchia, that was Lance Zimmerman, I believe. And then the other side was OC, the OC house, I don't remember who the
Who's the
architect.
architect on ZBA? His last name's Wood.
Richard Wood used
Yeah.
to be on ZBA. I don't know which house he did.
I thought he did it at one or something. Anyway, doesn't matter. Okay.
Okay, so that's my plan.
Any other questions with regards to that? Okay. It sounds like you got an approval to write it up.
Yeah, well, Fred and I will draft something for an upcoming meeting.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
We're good with that. We're all set. Good luck. Can I say this one since you're on the committee? Okay, you want to talk to yourself? I said, can I say this one? since
Yes,
you're
say
on the
that
committee?
Oh, right.
Next on the agenda.
Next up is update from the blight committee.
So I'll have more in this in probably the next Jeremy month. There are currently 3 properties that are under active blight. I can give you some more specifics on which properties they are. One has a couple conditions which can be remediated by a demolition permit. One has 4 or 5 issues that can be remediated without a building permit. One of them is going to require a building permit. There's some issues around there. And then there's a sensitive, another one, a third one, regarding some renters. The owner is, I'll give you all more details on this, but I think I'll kind of defer most of this till a month because we'll have some more detail on all of this.
Relative to addresses and whatnot, you like to tell us the address or you like to give, I mean, I know one of them watched on TV.
So, it's a matter of public record. One of these is fairly sensitive, so I'll give the commission a spreadsheet that has the addresses and the issue, and I'll refer to them by their case numbers.
I like that idea.
That's great, very, very discreet.
Okay, you good? Just for the record, Bonnie, Kevin is our representative for the blight committee. I figured that out. All right. Approval of minutes, March 19th.
Oh, John Cini had 2 comments. Let me pass these.
Shocking.
Just because it's not here.
John's comments.
We got a draft of the minutes in your packets.
Yeah, there's no comments on that, so
Building notice.
Mr. Cini's comments on page 13, paragraph 5, at the end of the line, rezone DB instead. Mr. Cini questioned Mrs. Evertax whether the proper procedure would be to propose a new zone for the application without warning. He was very worried about the warning, that's for sure. Do you understand that change, Sharon?
Yes.
Okay. Chairman C's other comment was page 14, top line, revised to owners of 168 West Avenue. Questioned how amendments would impact their property. Delete anything else. There's Mr. Aldo and Joe Fisher. Well, it doesn't. Is that right? Yeah. I think Cini's comment is more correct, right? That's written here.
We can do it either way. We can do it the way it's written, or incorporate John's comment to be, I think John's comment's a little more general, if I recall.
Yes. Did those guys question it? The 1,200 square feet?
Well, that's the issue now, and so certainly John's correct, in that they did question how this would impact their project.
Right, okay, that's fine. Anybody else? Kevin, you're good? And
No.
Judy said you're good,
I
right?
would move to approve with the amendments from John.
We get a second? Mr. Rand?
I could let you do
Ah, sorry, Jan. All those in favor?
Yes.
Kevin
Aye.
abstaining? Yep.
Kevin was there.
And on the calendar, did we have, what was the night that we were debating, the 9th of
skipped it.
April?
Calendar update and project status update. I skipped that in the agenda. Sorry, Bonnie, I went out of that.
It's okay.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Which do you want to start with, the project status or the calendar? Your choice.
Let's go calendar.
Okay. Next week, we're not meeting on Tuesday the 2nd, we'll be meeting on Thursday the 4th in this room.
Thursday, the 4th?
Thursday the 4th in this room. Anyone can't make it? Jim, or Ford, no Jim. It's going to be a training session from this group from Clear. The training session will be open to everyone.
Clear, like at the airport?
No, it's a Connecticut Land Use Education something.
How about 1 second? Do we have an agenda? Or Scrimson? You're Grimson.
Yeah, I have something that evening, but do you need a quorum for this?
We do not need a quorum.
Oh,
Okay, so no Liz Rita either.
No Kevin, right?
No Kevin. Okay, so, yeah, we don't need a quorum, so you three can't make it.
It is a meeting or it's not?
It won't be a meeting, but it'll be a training session.
Okay.
It'll be in this room, probably in a format like this. It probably won't last more than an hour and a half, starting at 8 o'clock. So there'll be some folks from other towns here that night. That'll be the only item on the agenda, is that training, because we won't have a quorum. After that will be Tuesday, April 9th, which is a full public hearing night. We're going to start the public hearing on the cross-country path, which goes around the high school and through the adjacent Diller property. Anyone
Oh,
care?
yes.
I will not be here.
I will not be here.
Okay,
Sorry,
4/9,
repeat that date again, the 9th.
Tuesday the 9th.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Jennifer, no, Gina. And so that will take a while. We're also going to continue the public hearing on the zoning reg amendments. And we're going to also have a public hearing on the application of the municipal use zone. Actually, I apologize. It was supposed to be the 9th. And then when John Cini realized that he also cannot be here on the 9th, we moved it to the 11th. Thank you. So it will not be the 9th, it will be 4/11.
That's what I thought I had seen.
And that will be in the Matter Center. So Jim said you'd be back.
Leaving event,
I
and
think I'll be
11th.
back with.
Oh, you're back with the
You would come back in the morning.
Okay.
8 PM as usual.
8 PM in the Mather Center, that's April 11th. You didn't catch me on that.
Sorry.
So it's a very full night, because we have the zoning regulation amendments, we'll have the cross-country path, and then we'll have the application of the municipal use zone to certain town properties. So your next two meetings will be on Thursdays.
Okay.
And
Oh,
then
well,
nothing
you
on the
Thursday, you said April-
16th because of the
April
break.
4th is a Thursday,
And we don't
that's
know.
the training session.
Right.
Thursday, April 11th, no meeting on Tuesday.
Oh, you said, okay.
And then no meeting school vacation week.
Right.
And then we meet Tuesday, the 23rd, which will be a very full public hearing night. You saw the two continuations from tonight, and then there's a significant number of new applications that have come in that Fred and I have had to split into, some on April 23rd and some on May 7th. So
Right.
those two nights will be very, very full.
And do we know the May, June, or no? Like idea? No. We wouldn't
Too
know
early to
now
tell.
in April for May, maybe.
April, very busy, and early May.
We're now meeting on the 16th. And
That's
we'll
correct.
Switch this to the 23rd.
So it's Thursday the 4th, Thursday the 11th, and then the 23rd.
All right.
Great.
8:50 on your dial, if you're keeping any records.
Ready?
Nothing else on the agenda. You want to move to amend the agenda, add something?
Move to.
I would entertain a move to close the meeting.
Motion to close.
That's John, we have a second from.
Second to
Ms.
adjourn.
Meeting adjourned. Bonnie, off the record.
8:51.
Off the record.
Well done.